Welcome. It's been a long weekend. I know that yesterday I said I was going to make it quick, and I really did try, and I failed. Hopefully I can make this one half as long. Night 2, Allegiant Stadium, Las Vegas, Nevada. Michael Cole does his 28th Mania. Wade is back on there with Pat. I put Pad. Obviously, that's a typo. No Corey Graves. I personally would have liked to have at least been able to share the spotlight. Corey Graves is amazing. He's also touted to be like the next, sort of replacement, if you will, in a way for Michael Cole. He wasn't there. Wade dunked on Carlito and John Cena, calling him a garbage human being. Again, that goes back to that whole thing where people are like, oh, Wade Barrett's the heel commentator. Well, not really. Not with comments like that. Anyhow, EO retained her world championship in a triple threat. Fans were just not on board with Bianca, and I think a lot of that had to do with her refereeing, her officialing, which was just terrible. Her always doing the back slap, it is just really, really cringe, but whatever. I wanted Rhea to win, but in the end, I also did not want Bianca to win, and I'm actually content that Io Sky retained. We don't always have to be swapping the belt around like it's hot potato. But this was a good match. This could have been a main event. CM Punk said the same thing. Drew McIntyre defeats Damian Priest in a Sin City street fight match. Is that what it's called? Or just Sin City match? This was pretty wild, pretty brutal, as you come to expect from these two. Priest took some really nasty bumps with the DDT on the stairs. Then you had the Claymore right in the chair. A lot of metal. Definitely got his iron intake for the night. I'm glad Drew won. I would have been okay either way, but if I had to be perfectly honest, yeah, I'm a little bit extra happy that Drew McIntyre won this one. This rivalry, I mean, I get where it was coming from, but it was nowhere the level of like CM Punk and Drew. And you can't always have that, right? Professional wrestling, just like anything in life, is like the lotto. You pick 5 numbers, you're not always going to hit them. You're going to often hit 1 or 2. And that's kind of like what it is with any wrestling match event that you watch. There's going to be some you like, some you don't like. Very rarely are you going to like the whole show. It's not going to be as thrilling every single time either. That can just happen, and that's just the way it is. So that's why I try to be positive and just be like, well, I like these few matches. Even if there were like more matches than matches that I didn't like, I still will try to really focus on what I really did enjoy. Maybe relive some of those moments, watch them again, because really that is all you can do, truthfully. Like, for example, this here, the Intercontinental Championship. Dirty Dom wins the IC in a fatal 4-way against Finn Balor, Penta, and at the time the defending champ, Braun Breaker. Dom went after Finn, mid-match. Carlito didn't want him to. The crowd was loving Dom. Crowd went heel. Then Braun Breaker delivered like a 15-foot spear from one table to the next. The look on his face says it all. I really like Carlito. I'm glad he was there and, he got to be involved a little bit. Still have some good memories of him and John Cena, speaking of which, back when he was a part of the Chain Gang. Yeah, the crowd was booing Finn. And, yeah, they were really behind Dom when he won. It was actually pretty wild that we got to see this. I wasn't expecting that, but I have to admit, I like this because now this can further some storylines between Finn and Dom. Maybe there's going to be something between them. I don't know. I don't want to start spending too much time speculating. I can always do that in a future video. But it is what it is. There's going to definitely be some stuff brewing even more. Now, when it comes to Joe Hendry, who was the surprise opponent for Randy Orton, when you really think about it, Joe Hendry's the TNA World Champ. A special deal was struck with TNA and WWE to allow Joe Hendry to show up there, kind of like at the last minute as well, because Kevin Owens' real neck injury. Yeah, to pull him there. Future WWE deal could potentially be made in the future. I think he's only got like another year with TNA in his contract. He's 36 years old. He started about 11 years ago. I know they said something he's been in wrestling for like 15 plus years. Maybe that's true, but professional wrestling or getting into, like Olympic style wrestling, Joe Hendry's been doing that for quite a while. He started late, around 25, 26 years old. And yeah, it's just, sorry, I'm like half asleep, and there's this thing that I'm trying to say. I keep forgetting it. It's the whole like Kurt Angle thing and Chad Gable. Like he's a real, not that this isn't real wrestling. I just mean like the Olympic style wrestling that you see. He's been doing that for a while, and he's deceptively strong, like really, really strong. And that's why he was able to do the fallaway slam, picking up a near 300-pound Orton and then do a nip up. I mean, that's pretty impressive. So although on paper he just looks like, hey, look at me, and he kind of looks like a funny guy, he's actually like legit amateur wrestler. There, is that the word I was looking for? Whatever. Let's just keep going, because like I said, oh, there. You don't want this video being too long. Logan Paul defeats AJ Styles. Karrion Kross also tried to tempt AJ with the brass knuckles because one of Logan's friends showed up. I keep forgetting his name. And he was trying to slip him the brass knuckles. Yeah, Paul did a Styles clash. Oh, right. Though it kind of hit like a wet noodle, which would explain why AJ was able to kick out of that one very quickly and then delivered one of his own. I like this match. Like I said, Logan Paul is a freak athlete. He's really, really good. AJ Styles clearly has it. He has the it factor. He still has some left in the tank. I mean, they're all nearing 50 years old. Arguably, Rey Mysterio is like the most impressive 50-plus-year-old superstar on the roster. I like this match. Well, now this brings, mixed feelings. I don't want to be too negative. But Lyra Valkyria, her secret mystery tag team partner was Becky Lynch, and they defeated Liv Morgan and Raquel to claim the tag team championship for the women's division. Now, a lot of people will be like, Well, I wasn't sure how I felt about Liv and Raquel holding on to them to begin with, but it was growing on me a little bit. Sometimes it's weird. I'll be grumpy, and there's sometimes really not much of a reason why I feel the way that I do, where I'm kind of like, I just don't know why I'm always like that. I can't explain it to you. Like Becky Lynch was Becky Two Belts back at WrestleMania 35. Now it's Lyra Two Belts. Why do I have a problem with that? Because now I want to be like, oh, she's, well, not her, the booking, rather. It's never the individual themselves. It's the booking, holding back the women's division. Why are we having these two thrown together, steamrolling through the tag division? Now we've got Lyra, first-time women's intercontinental champion. Now she's co-holder of the tag team championship. Can we not spread the love around? Well, she's probably not going to hold it for too long. But why does that, not bother me, literally? Why does that bother me? But yet Becky does it and it's okay. Well, it's because I've always been a huge fan of Becky. I've always been a huge fan of Lyra because she is very, very capable. She's incredible. But sometimes the caring factor of a superstar is just not there. Same thing happens with Bianca. I had somebody try to make it about something disgusting as to why I didn't like Bianca. And right away I went, Jade is one of my favorites. And then right away they're like, well, I'm like, pal, I have always been on board since day one with Jade Cargill. Bianca, maybe it's the funny hair spinning, maybe it's the music, maybe it's her persona, her character. There isn't always something I can explain. It's like you can meet people in real life that are kind, they're generous, they're not trying to screw you over, they don't do or say anything rude. But if you never saw them again, you're just like, whatever. And that's what it is with me for Lyra. I just don't care if she's, winning or losing, there or not there. Becky, I do. Even Liv, I don't care. But to be honest with you, I'd rather Lyra over Liv, and that tells you everything you need to know. So overall, I still like the match, and I am very, very happy for Becky. She was gone for a long time, and I think a lot of it, from what I've read, remember that a lot of the things that I say, or when I quote, or, oh, I heard this, I'm never claiming that it's fact. It's not like I spoke to her. But allegedly it had to do with her contract, and it expired. She just didn't renew. Wanted to take a little bit of time off after losing the belt to Liv Morgan, I think. Yeah. So that's what it is. Then she came back. I'm okay with this. I am. I'm okay with this. Definitely don't have an issue there. Then we have, well, they didn't show it here, but it was a big deal for me because it ties into what I wanted to finish this with. Stone Cold Steve Austin came out in his ATV. He ended up crashing it into the barricade. The woman did not get injured, but she was standing up and she kind of got, you know, whoa, and flipped back into her chair. She was not harmed, and that's why Stone Cold Steve Austin went to check up on her. Then President Nick Khan, not Tony Khan, and no, they're not related, even though you'd have every right to think that they have the same last name and they're both heavily involved at the high-tier position in each other's company, wrestling promotion, but they're not related. So Nick Khan was there to make sure everything was okay. Could have been a lawsuit there or something. Yeah, so he was there, Stone Cold. And it's kind of interesting because he was already there and we couldn't get him, you know, when The Undertaker showed up, you know, at WrestleMania there, and then Cody won. Remember? Everybody was trying to screw him over and he ended up picking up The Rock. It was that, yeah, The Rock. It ended up, that was actually supposed to be Stone Cold, but they couldn't come to an agreement. Well, Stone Cold was already there, which leads me into the final thing. Cena becomes a record-breaking 17-time champ. Loved the ending. I really do. Like at the end of the night, as the expression goes, the result, I love it. How we got there, I don't like it. And for me, it's simple. The whole buildup was something special. Then we had like The Rock when we had John Cena side with him. Then we had last night, or the night before this rather, where we had Seth Rollins and Heyman get together. So I'm just going to throw something in really, really quick. Underwhelming, I wrote, because there was no Heyman. There was no Rollins. There was no Rock. There was no Punk. No Roman Reigns. Travis Scott is what we got. So I want to be clear. I have nothing against Travis Scott. I think he's great at what he does. Okay? And it's not that he doesn't belong in wrestling. You're allowed to have your funny little moments. Like, who was that freakazoid that ended up at the Royal Rumble that I can't stand? I Show Speed. I actually just legit don't like him because I think he's a clown and he does really stupid shit. So that's my reason why I don't like him. I kind of categorize him and Jack Doherty as absolute dingleberry shit stains. It's just really that simple. Travis Scott, I don't have an issue with. I kind of like that whole, like, Travis Scott, the final boss, The Rock, you know. He kind of felt like out of place that one time he was there before John Cena decided to side with The Rock and screwed Cody Rhodes. But in the end, The Rock was kind of like keeping the whole thing together. It was like their little entourage, right? And now that you have Cody Rhodes with the history of Seth Rollins, well, now that Rollins is with Heyman, it could have made sense for all of them to be on board potentially with The Rock, or just share like a mutual, you know, common goal that they want to dethrone Cody Rhodes and screw him over and have John Cena win. And then because you have Roman Reigns, who has respect for Cody Rhodes, and now that Roman Reigns is face, and now that Roman Reigns got screwed by Rollins, we could have had Rock. We could have had Rollins and Heyman come out. And then basically it's real simple. We could have had Roman Reigns come out to attack Rollins, and The Rock could have been there. So now there's a lot of history with Stone Cold Steve Austin, who was already there. And it didn't have to be some long winded, dragged out thing. It could have been like, less than 15 seconds. Do you know how much time we spent during the 2 nights on entrances? About 75 minutes. An hour and 15 minutes we spent on just entrances. We couldn't sneak in an extra 15 seconds just to have that. I think that would have been magical because that could have further added to the feud between Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns, like I said, sort of being not really, but kind of like on Cody Rhodes' side. I just felt like that could have been something. And then still have Travis Scott there. But Travis Scott coming out to try to distract and be a legitimate threat to Cody Rhodes is kind of like really not believable when he's half the size of fucking Zelina Vega. For real, I'm not even kidding. And that's not to shame him. It's just, it's not believable. You can't have somebody like, let's say, imagine if Travis Scott, like someone his size, was going up against someone like The Rock or Brock Lesnar. It's just not believable. And that's why you had Brock Lesnar completely obliterate Kofi Kingston. And it's wild, too, that they did that. Well, in the way that they did in the very beginning when he came, because the ref was still, like, there. And Cena could have easily been DQ'd, or they could have tried to DQ, and then that's where The Rock comes out and says, do you want to lose your job? Because he's done that before, where he threatens an official and says, look, you call this match, you DQ this match, and I'm just going to have you fired because he's the control freak. He's the head of the TKO board, TQ, whatever that thing is. I forget the acronym, okay? Heaven forbid. There just could have been that much more added to this event, to this match, and it would have taken less than a minute, and then it would have made the final finale, even though John Cena cheated, kick to the groin. You could have had back and forth John Cena getting smacked around by, The Rock or Reigns or just whatever. CM Punk, somebody. CM Punk, again, has a lot of history with John Cena. Could have revisited that for a second. Maybe Punk low blows John Cena. So then it makes it equal that the both of them, both Cody Rhodes and John Cena, get bonked back and forth by people from the outside, so that when John Cena does it, you're not like, oh, well, he only won because he cheated, because both sides would have had a balance of attacking on both competitors inside of the ring. I should just go back to bed. And this video ended up being longer than my first night. Whatever, it's WrestleMania, damn it. All in all, I did have fun, really. Like I said, I hate being like negative, but I have to admit that it's like the sneeze that never came. That's kind of how I feel. Just because a few little things could have been done, the outcome could have stayed the exact same. Just add a little bit of extra sprinkles on top. And I think it would have been cinema. And we didn't get that. I didn't get that. Maybe you got that, and you know what? That's fantastic. I'm happy for you. Thumbs up as always. If you liked the video, it does greatly help support the channel with the algorithm and trying to make me more relevant in the search results when people are looking shit up. You didn't like the video? That's fine. Go ahead. Give it a thumbs down. I'll bend it in half. I'll twist it. And basically, you know what's going to happen? When it's broken off, think about it for a second. This one makes sense now because of I had to look at this for a second. We bend it in half. We twist it. We break it off right in there, right? And then you get the FU from John Cena. So when you land all your weight on your thumb, it's really wedged in there. That actually might be worse than just a solo Sakoan spike. I'm just saying. Anyhow, you want to subscribe? I don't really recommend it, but if you do, I'd greatly appreciate it. But if not, trust me, I totally get it. Thanks for stopping by anyways. Take care. And maybe, hopefully, I'll see some of you in the next one tomorrow to recap the Monday Night Raw after Mania, which goes on tonight in about, I don't even know, 10 hours from now, whatever. All right, enough rambling. Oh my God, almost 20 minutes. No, gotta go. Bye.